Ultimately, a resetting of the system is in place. If ultimately they want to issue a central bank digital currency, we've talked about this before. How do you issue a central bank digital currency to a public that doesn't want it? Well, you come in on a white horse with a solution to a massive problem. Yeah, the banks collapsed and the insurance companies collapsed and all of these things happened. So just take the CBDC. That won't ever happen again. The Federal Reserve can never go bankrupt. And, take the CBDC, will make you whole.
In today's news recap, Russia in talks with BRICS over precious metals exchange. Russia is in talks with other BRICS members about creating an international precious metals exchange to ensure fair pricing and trade growth. The country's Finance Minister Anton Siluanov said in a statement on Thursday. Leaders of BRICS countries, which account for 37% of the global economy, gathered in the Russian city of Kazan this week to discuss initiatives aimed at creating alternatives to the Western-dominated financial and trade infrastructure. The mechanism will include the creation of price indicators for metals, standards for the production and trade of bullion, and instruments for accrediting market participants, clearing, and auditing within BRICS. Siluanov said. The BRICS Precious Metals Exchange would rival Western trading platforms such as the London Metal Exchange and would protect trade from sanctions imposed by the West on BRICS members Russia and Iran. Earlier, BRICS leaders expressed support for efforts to increase trade in precious metals among the group's countries in a joint communique issued on October 23. Russia is the second largest global gold producer, and one of its biggest companies, Nornickel, is the world's largest supplier of palladium with a 40% share of global output. All major Russian gold producers are under Western sanctions, which have also hampered Nornickel's operations and its palladium exports, although the company itself is not under direct sanctions. Nornickel and the country's largest gold producer, Polyus, declined to comment on the initiative. Now we'll show you the best clips of the latest interview, but first, smash the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our daily recaps. Enjoy the episode.
Deposits. They covered everything that was. But you got to remember, this is a tiny bank. If they only have 7 million in uninsured deposits, this is a small rural bank. You could have a bank, a big bank that has many accounts with large amounts in it that are uninsured, and those numbers would be in spades. And they only are giving 3.5 million of coverage here. That 50% should say we're only covering 3.5 million of the 7, and it would resonate a lot more with people, I think.
Mm-hmm. And Michael Guadano asks, Andy, any relevant news from the BRICS conference?
What I think they're trying to do right now is show the world they got their act in order. You see and again, it's like marketing to the West, in my opinion. There hasn't been a lot of news out yet. On Thursday, they'll start making more announcements, which is the last day. But the three things that stuck out to me was they're showing that they have, that the countries involved are putting aside their differences. It was announced that Saudi Arabia and Iran would take part in joint naval exercises. This is Sunni and Shiite who've hated each other. You remember a year ago, the Chinese, the adult in the room, brokered a peace deal, even going as far as having embassies in each other's countries, but brokered a peace deal between these two countries that have disliked each other for a long time. But now we're in the BRICS, and it's a cooperative union, and we are putting our differences aside for the common good. And today, Modi and Xi Jinping spoke on the sideline. If you remember, back in South Africa, they did the same thing, where they tried to settle their differences of the border dispute. And again, they are saying that is indeed what they are doing now, and putting their differences aside for the greater good. And they want people to see that here you have countries that have been at each other's throats for years, if not longer, decades or even centuries. And now for the common good, they are putting these differences aside, and it's much easier to be cooperative than be in constant conflict. The other thing is that we've talked ad nauseum about Enbridge, and the unit, which will enable these countries to trade with one another over the cross-border payment system, of Enbridge with their local currencies. And it will enable these countries to buy things like oil and other commodities with the unit token, which we have been told by Dalma Rousseff, the head of the New Development Bank, that, yeah, in principle, we've agreed to it. It'll be pegged to gold. But they also have come out, and that's for the big money, the state, and maybe the commercial banks on behalf of the state. But they have issued something called BRICS Pay, which is kind of like, according to Vince Lancy, I think he gave a great analogy of it, a monetary passport, which is that any one of the BRICS member countries can seamlessly purchase goods and services in any BRICS country using BRICS Pay. It seamlessly and immediately converts just using your BRICS Pay card. So they're basically saying we have covered our settlement currency. We've talked a lot about Enbridge, that we're putting our differences aside, that we are getting our house in order, and we are all on the same page. And now we have the ability for the consumer to trade within this ecosystem wherever they are within the BRICS union. So they're showing cooperation. They are showing the ability to not use the dollar to settle on a large scale and bring it all the way down to a retail level. Those are the things that I've taken away so far. And there hasn't been a lot of news that has come out yet, other than, I think it's a big deal that you see these countries trying to mend fences. In particular, always, well, India and China don't like each other, and Saudi Arabia and Iran hate each other. Well, those are the two news stories they came out with. And maybe there's some legitimacy to it. Maybe it's marketing. I don't know. But if indeed this is what they are accomplishing, it's a huge deal. If for the greater good, you get these countries as allies, yeah, let's just forget about it. I don't remember what we were fighting for, kind of thing. It's a huge deal. It is a trend in motion, and there'll be more clarity by the end. By Friday, there ought to be a lot of stuff to talk about. But as of right now, it's just 2 days in. That's what I've taken away so far.
Wanted to give you a chance to let everyone know.
In today's news recap, after gold's moment in the sun, it's now silver's turn. These ETFs linked to the shiny metal are rising in Thursday's pre-market. As global tensions and market uncertainty continue to escalate, silver prices are experiencing a significant rise. This surge has resulted in notable gains for silver-linked ETFs in recent trading sessions. What happened? According to Benzinga Pro on Thursday, several silver-linked ETFs have benefited from this surge. ABRDN physical silver shares. ETF SIVR is up 1.28% in the pre-market, with a year-to-date return of over 42.01%. iShares Silver Trust SLV is up 1.27% in the pre-market, boasting a year-to-date return of over 41.85%. ABRDN physical precious metals. Basket shares ETF GLTR is up 1.48% in the pre-market, with a year-to-date return of over 30.29%. These ETFs aim to reflect the performance of silver prices, less their expenses. They hold physical silver bullion, providing investors with exposure to silver price movements without the need to physically own and store the metal. The silver prices have been making substantial gains due to escalating tensions in the Middle East, interest rate cuts by the European Central Bank, ECB, and uncertainty surrounding the upcoming U.S. election. These factors have increase the demand for safe haven assets like silver. COMEX silver prices have remained above $34.43 per ounce, marking their highest levels in 12 years. This month, COMEX silver has seen an 11% increase, its largest monthly gain since May 2024. Year to date, silver prices have risen by 46%, outpacing gold's 33.3% rise. Why it matters. The rally in silver prices came after gold reached an all-time high, with experts saying that gold is getting its moment in the sun. Gold earlier this year outperformed Bitcoin, suggesting that cryptocurrencies may not be the effective hedge against lower interest rates, a declining dollar, and financial instability that Bitcoin proponents had anticipated. Now we'll show you the best clips of the latest interview, but first, smash the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our daily recaps. Enjoy the episode.
It is a fair point, but if you look at both of the candidates, it's almost as if they're singing the Federal Reserve's marching orders. What do they want? They want lower interest rates and a weaker dollar. Well, that's not the solution. In fact, that's the problem. And then you get Trump saying he's going to put 20% tariffs across the board. I think it's better than picking certain countries to put tariffs upon. But all of this stuff is that only incentivizes and crystallizes these countries joining the BRICS to move away from the U.S. I think that both of these candidates are to the point, more or less singing the song that the Federal Reserve wants to be sung. We don't have anyone pushing back against that narrative whatsoever. And I think ultimately the system has to be reset. And maybe this is all part of it, where you reset it by making people very reluctant to trust banks and to want to keep their money in a banking system that can collapse and lose everything. We'll have no fear. Lael Brainerd with their CBDC is here. That'll never happen with the Federal Reserve. So you just take our CBDC and you'll be safe. Enforce how smart it was for me to move here. But the point of it is then they start to leave and those businesses fail. And as less revenue comes, the quality of life deteriorates further. So more people leave, more businesses leave. And we're not going to re-up that lease. I mean, we've already proven that we can work from home. Boom. It's just like a systemic chain reaction. It doesn't happen all at once. Well, maybe it does. And this is the little by little and then the all at once. And so when that happens, what happens to the banking system? Poof. That's when you get the bail-ins. That's when you get the money market gating. That's when it becomes a terrifying experience. And who's going to reliquify the system if not? Oh, the Fed can come into the rescue again and add a whole bunch more liquidity. So we just get more and more and more inflation in a slowing economy, stagflation. The point of it is that these are real things. And, a lot of the things that you and I have talked about, I sometimes, when I'm alone and I'm thinking about, man, it's crazy. These things that Dunnigan and I have talked about for 3 years are all coming true. And on one hand, I feel proud that I was stupid enough to go online and say these things and they've happened. I'm like, wow, maybe I am paying attention. Maybe I got this. But I'll tell you, it's scary as hell right now, because I think this is something I've talked about, but to see it here even a little bit, 50% of those uninsured deposits, maybe you get them back. That's a bail-in. This is the first one. It's a baby bail-in and an unnoticed bail-in. Let's see what happens as these things start to unfold, as we just talked about. And if this isn't a wake-up call, you'll never be woken up. So I don't know. It's scary to have been right. On one end, it's gratifying that I didn't make a fool of myself. On the other end, as an American and as a father, it's very terrifying, to be honest with you. And if you're not scared right now, you're not paying attention. But then, do you remember what happened then? For the first time ever, I think the bondholders, which are first in line, became subordinate to, I don't remember who, but the bondholders during that process were actually put to the back of the line. I'll have to read up on that, but that was something that happened that had never happened before. All of these things should just tell people. Here you are thinking you're being smart. Yeah, honey, we're in the money market. We're safe. We're out of harm's way. No, you're really not. And what's scary is that you have record money right now in the money markets, record, huge. And it's just ripe for something like that to happen. So, it's not about being sensationalists. It's not about being an alarmist. It's about, if you're not alarmed, you're not paying attention. And that guy in Oklahoma, I mean, that's just crazy. If it ain't on the front page of every newspaper and television show, news show in Oklahoma, then, I mean, are we living in bizarro world? These people lost half their money and possibly will get it back after they liquidate the assets of the bank, which probably aren't very many assets. And so that 3.5 million in essence is now going in to bail it out or to bail it in. So whatever is left afterwards, according to David Morgan, you'll get shares of that new bank. Whether you get shares of the new bank or you get a pro rata fashion, a pro rata amount of the money that they use to bail it, if anything, it's not going to make you happy, and it could be 4 years later. So sometime in 2028, you'll be made whole.
What are your thoughts on Andy Schectman's interview? Do you agree with his predictions? Do you think the BRICS nations could challenge the US dollar and disrupt the American economy? Could gold really blow up in 2025? Drop your honest opinions in the comments and let the stacker community know if you're investing in miners or prefer sticking with physical metals. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out this video over here. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I'll see you on the other side.